Hello, everyone. I am Sue Wang, a ICF certified coach who promotes personal growth and career advancement. Last year, I met Elaine White here, who retired from a career of 37 years in an energy utilities company, Exelon. Her role spanned across engineering, HR, regulatory, change, performance, and project management. I found her insight and perspective on life and work very compelling, especially in an uncertain world. So I want to share this, and I'm calling this talk Thriving in an Uncertain World. And we've had great conversations since we met, and I want to share the wisdom here to help to give some grounding and inspiration. So, hello, Elaine. Glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, Sue. I appreciate the opportunity to do this interview. As Sue mentioned, I'm 37 years working at ComEd. I started as an engineer working on the nuclear side. Again, a lot of challenges there, a lot of interesting things to do. I was able to work there, work with a variety of people, make a lot of lifetime friends, and I just love the work that I did. And I'm just happy to share a few experiences with this group today.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I know throughout conversations, there are really like many nuggets, and I'm always so impressed with your energy and your groundedness, and also how you have and are conducting yourself in terms of giving back. And so I know this talk is also that because you've had requests from others to share your wisdom here. So after a long, successful career, what is the most important thing for those who are building a career to know?
Mhm. I would say one of the things that surprised me and that I found is important for people to realize is that your goals and your definition of success will change over time. Generally, when you're younger, I know for me, I started out, it was about getting a certain position, getting a certain compensation or level of compensation. But as you grow and mature, I think you really start to focus more on impact. So that doesn't mean compensation isn't important, but you really want to look at how the impact that you're having on others. Are you able to bring things to the table that really change their lives and change the way they look at things, change, make it better for your customers, really driving positive change in others. I think that, although I worked hard and I had good results before, as I grew, it really became more about the people that I work with and how to help them be successful, more than just me being successful, but also helping them to be successful as well. Um, and I think that that I felt more the accomplishment more as I focused on things other than money. I think it's also important to really take those chances, take those stretch assignments, those difficult situations, because I think that's when you really grow. If you stay in your comfort zone, you won't grow. And if you don't grow, it won't be recognized as your strength. So again, I think it's everyone ought to take a chance, do something wild and different, and see what the results will be. You may not always hit 100% of what you want to do, but if you're taking those positive actions, you'll be successful to some degree.
Wow. I love that. I love, like acknowledging, focusing on the people, right? And then
Yes.
you are encouraging others to take risks.
Correct.
What makes you feel, you know, when a risk is worth taking?
I think for me, at least, I don't like routine. So I like to do things that are different. So those new and challenging tasks, again, is something that maybe others have tried and they've not been successful. And I think I have the ability to pull the right people together to take those challenges on and be successful. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that I've done before, even an area of my expertise. I found that if you get the right team together, you get the right resources together, you can be successful at almost anything. And again, If you don't get 100%, maybe you get the 80 or 90%, but you've made a difference for yourself and for the company.
Mm, mm. Okay, thank you. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. And so for you, what was the biggest challenge and lesson learned in your career?
I
What?
would say a very painful lesson learned and a very big challenge was several years ago. I moved into a new department and there was a manager that was in place that was really not able to do her job. She's really not willing to learn how to do it because, again, it was obvious there were some big gaps in her abilities when I stepped into the role. I tried to work with her to identify ways to close those gaps, but she was really unwilling. Felt that she didn't want to do a lot of those things that would take to really close that gap. And the difficult part of it was really having to step back and let her, to some degree, fail because
Mm,
it did impact her team as well as it impacted my reputation. It was a new team and a new department that was really brought in to improve the quality of the overall organization. So us not being as successful as we needed to be really hurt our team as well as the organization.
yeah.
Um, it was hard to kind of balance helping her, helping the team, and really helping the team be successful in spite of her, if I can say it that way.
Mm,
Really trying to pull us together, to work collaboratively with her being resistant to all of that. But I didn't want to undermine her authority because she was their manager. She was their direct manager. And I
yeah.
was her manager. So again, trying to make it where the team grew,
Mm,
even with her kind of not necessarily helping them grow, and in many cases putting roadblocks up. She's often absent when difficult assignments came up.
mm,
She was kind of bullying and sometimes. So it was really, a challenge to balance, helping them as well as stepping back and staying so I don't take over her role. I
mm,
think that again, it was difficult, but we were able to do it. We did lose one contractor as a result of her performance, but the rest of the team really did come together. And although, they respected her in her role, but they were able to overcome that challenge. And after she did leave, again, the team didn't fall apart. We were able to really move forward. And the new manager came in and again just took off, and we really did a great job. We were able to accomplish a lot. But that was probably the most challenging thing is the balance between helping, training, mentoring, and allowing her to perform in her role.
mm,
So
mhm.
obviously, I don't like failure. No one wants to be a part of an organization that's not working. Excuse me.
Mhm. So, what is the takeaway for someone who are in your role, in that
Mhm.
kind of role now, managing a middle person
Mhm.
who is
Sure. I think it's setting clear expectations, which I did. And again, they were in writing. So whether it was completed or not completed,
Mhm,
being real specific about that, intentional about that, and not trying to make her fail, but really doing everything I could to help her be successful. But
mm,
she had to take that ball and run with it. And it was that balance between the two. And again, the things that I set up for her became excellent resources for the new manager that came in, so that it really was evident to everyone around that, she really was failing. It was not the
mm.
process. It wasn't me as a manager, but it really was her lack of willingness to do the things that she committed to doing.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and what advice do you have for someone who is now resonating with the work
Mhm.
and seems to be
I think,
failing at her task?
yes, I think you have to honestly assess whether this is the right role for you because some jobs may just not be the right role. In this
Mm,
case, she identified that early on that it wasn't the right role for her. We allowed her time to interview for other roles and things, but she really didn't like she was new to the company and she really thought that everyone worked too hard. She wasn't willing to work that hard. And she said that to me on many different occasions. So the willingness to honestly assess whether you're in the right company, the right job, because
mm,
again, every job is not for every person. And sometimes what looks like a good fit really isn't. And there's no shame in that, right? You just need to move to that new role that you can be successful and encouraging, as a manager, really helping her to see this is what this role entails. And if you're not willing to do that, let's look for some other options. And if you're really not suited for the company, then there's not a lot I can offer at this point. And again, she ended up being terminated after 11 months of after she notified, they said that she was not qualified.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like, one needs to own what works and what doesn't.
Correct.
And you're also advocating that people being proactive and,
Yes.
make the choice and you're
One of
in.
the things that we say at Exxon is you own your career, right? As a
Mm,
manager, I don't define your career. I can help you achieve things that you'd like to. I can help you with assignments, with training, with mentoring, but you own your career and you have to be responsible for it. You're responsible for your performance. If you're not performing at the level that you should be or that you desire to be, there's resources available. Take
mm.
advantage of those resources. But at the end of the day, you have to perform. We can't carry someone who's not performing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Which brings up a question for me, since you have been in change management.
Yes. Mhm.
That, right now organizations are going through all kinds of restructuring, staff reductions and all that. And so, yes, when somebody interview for a job, they have it and then things change.
Mhm.
Any insight on, how to deal with the change in the organizations?
I would definitely say that again, the world is changing. I have moved into an organization, and 6 months later, they're questioning whether that organization would exist because we're going through a reorganization. You
Yeah.
have to be number one, know yourself, know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and how they fit into the company as overall. Where would you be best suited? What types of roles, what types of departments, even what managers are you better working with? Because a well-rounded team can do so much more. If everybody is strong in one area, that's probably not the best team. But if
Mhm,
everyone has their individual strengths,
mhm,
we combine them, we can create something much greater than any one of us could do apart. So being self-aware, knowing what you're good at, and being flexible enough to say, this area is not where I need to be and move someplace else. I know several years ago, I was in an organization and they were downsizing every year. Well, I could have stayed there and waited it out, but I
mhm,
chose to take my career in my own hands and I chose a totally different area. Didn't know anyone in that area, but I went, and that's actually when I went to HR.
mhm.
I went to the group, was very successful there, and it led to actually a promotion within a few months. So it definitely was a good move, even though it didn't necessarily was taking a big risk and I didn't know what the outcome would be.
Yeah. And so when you make that pivot, did you network a bit? Like, how do you find out about who's a good manager or that's a good team?
So at that point, I didn't really know anyone in that side of the business because I was coming from the nuclear organization into the utility,
Mm,
and I didn't really know anyone. Probably
mhm,
could have found someone if I really looked hard. It was a posted position. I looked at the requirements and the duties, and I knew there was something I could do, kind of as they say, with one arm tied behind my back. Um,
mhm.
it was definitely an easier job than what I was currently working on. So I didn't do a lot of research.
Yeah.
As that, again, that was earlier in my career. Now I don't ever move into anyone because I don't necessarily, even if the work seems good, the location's good, I want to know about the team because I've realized how much value or how different the experience can be depending on the manager and the team that you're working with. I've had a couple of jobs where I love the job, changed managers, and it became unbearable.
Mhm.
So I'm much more concerned about who I'm working with now, even than the role itself. So I definitely would have done more research if that were to happen, last year.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. So I'm hearing that you want to be aware of
Yeah,
yourself and also the external
absolutely.
teams and projects and the organization and being mindful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're just going to work and just focusing on, I'm going to do my job today and then I'm going to go home, you'll miss opportunities. You'll
Mm,
miss risks that are there that you could change and have some impact on. You'll miss all of that if you're just so laser focused on the work but you
Right.
really need to know the organization, the leaders, what their preferences are, what their pet peeves are. All of those things will help you to be
Mm.
a better employee, better teammate, and even a more successful employee.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And I am also recalling what you said earlier about taking
Mhm.
risks.
Yes,
It sounds like
absolutely.
earlier in your career, it's like, well, I don't know, but there's some sort of intuition there
Mhm.
to say,
Yes.
I'm going to go to HR and see
Mhm.
how it goes. And
Yes.
then now more informed
Mhm. Yeah, like I
risk.
said early on, it was about titles and compensation, but then you really realize that the real job is not just the title or the compensation or the list of duties, but it really is a team that you work with, and that's so much more important.
Yeah.
Because a good team is great. You enjoy being at work, but if you're on a team that's not in a good place and there's a lot of infighting and things, it just doesn't make for a good work day. And we spend way too many hours at work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love your groundedness. It's
Thank you.
like matter of fact, and this is what,
Mhm.
inspire me to say let's record this and share. And so my next question,
Mhm.
as an African American woman, what has kept you centered and inspired as you navigate the power dynamics
Mhm.
in the workplace?
And I think it goes back to my teenage years. I grew up very much with my mind kind of set on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, the person I wanted to be as an adult.
Yeah.
Um, and it comes from really being grounded and centered in, I think the biggest influence was my faith in God.
Mm.
And as a teenager, I really wanted to understand where he saw me in life, what was his plan for my life, and in a
Mm.
very specific way. Again, of course, you want to be a good Christian, but more than that is how does that really influence my daily life? So as I
Mm.
began to consider that, I really felt God challenging me to say, you kind of have your life outlined as this. Is that where I want you to be? What's important to me? And as I began to really seek, direction, I really felt that he was in me going to college at the school that I was interested in, studying engineering, that really was in his plan. And that was such an important foundation for my life because as I faced challenges, both in school and in the workplace, I knew that I was in the place where God wanted me to be. So I didn't fear that I would be a failure. I didn't
Mm.
fear that, this was going to be something unpleasant because I knew that I was where I was intended to be. My purpose was going to be fulfilled in that location. And again, that was so important because different things happened, layoffs and difficult working environments. Just
Mm.
knowing that I had that foundation, I knew that it would all work out eventually. There were times when I had to advocate for myself. There were times when someone I don't even know advocated on my behalf and turned things around. Other times there were people that I knew who advocated for me. And again, those difficult situations just, were resolved successfully and in my favor. I also think that I don't think I appreciated how much that happened or how much impact I had on the workplace until my retirement celebration last fall. There
Mm.
were so many people that, the expressions that they made, people that, you worked together, but you didn't really realize how much impact you had on them. And they were specific situations. So it wasn't just talk, but there were specific things that they were able to say. And it just really helped me to realize that I had fulfilled the place that I was intended to be, that I really did achieve what I was intended to achieve. And I think
Mm.
that was so important. I carried a confidence into work because I knew that that's where I was intended to be. And
Mm.
that, I didn't have to fight and claw to get ahead because I knew that I was where I intended to be. So, not fighting, but working collaboratively, working with others, really was able to build a network that was
Mm.
able to help me in any situation that I needed, right? Because I helped others, they felt a they wanted to be a part of my success. They wanted to help me in return. There wasn't a assignment that I took after like the first, I'll say 10 years, that there wasn't someone that I could call and say, hey, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know where to get information on this, or who do I talk to about this, where I couldn't make a phone call, maybe
Mm.
two, and not
Mm.
get an answer. So it built a really wide network and really have people that wanted, that I enjoyed working with me, and we were able to encourage each other. So that really was satisfying. And again, as an African American woman, they didn't always think that you were there because of your skill. Some cases people thought that, well, it was a diversity hire. And I think that's important in days like today. You hear a lot about diversity. But the number one thing to remember about diversity hires is they have to be qualified. If I wasn't qualified, I wouldn't be in the race. But you
Mm,
have to be qualified. And then you still have to you have to interview and face many other people's strengths in different areas in that. So I didn't get every job that I applied for, but I got the ones that were intended for me. I never went into an interview, never went into an interview feeling that, oh, if I don't get this job, I don't know what I'm going to do, or I'm never gonna get this job. I had the confidence that if this is a job for me, I'll get it, and that has
mm,
followed throughout my career. And again, I
mhm.
just love when I look back and reflect. I love seeing the success that I was able to have and the warm relationships that I was able to build with so many people over so many different areas of the company.
Wow. I love that. And it really transcends race, gender, and class.
Mhm. Absolutely.
When, the way you talked about having the faith,
Mm-hmm.
that's what centers you. Excuse me. Now I'm having
Yes,
the
now it's you.
a little frog.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of people of color,
Yes.
and often they will say, I have to work twice as hard or
Mm-hmm.
more because of the appearance.
Absolutely.
Your perspective on that?
I do think that you have to work hard, in many cases, twice as hard, because people don't expect you to be successful. They don't expect you to know. But it
Mm,
was a kind of a joke that I had with a few friends back early in my career. I said, the first assignment with people, often they don't know what to expect. And so they don't have high expectations. But I love that because then it allows me to just kind of blow their mind with what I'm able to achieve. It's
mhm,
not that because I'm prepared, I'm not worried about their doubts because I
mm,
know that I'm here because I'm qualified and I'm able to do the job. I didn't get the job because I was Black. I didn't get it because I was a woman. I got it because I was an engineer. And
yeah.
as an engineer, I had to pass all the same tests that everyone else had to pass. And I was successful. I graduated with an engineering degree. I didn't just come to this job and say, I'm Black and I'm a woman and I need a job.
Yeah.
I'm demanding a job because I'm a Black woman. No, I was qualified just like every other candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like you
Yes. Mm-hmm.
owning that,
Mm-hmm.
competency,
Yes.
owning the power,
Mm-hmm.
right to be there because
Absolutely.
you are qualified.
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
Love that. And I love how you say, I'm going to blow them away.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Make it
also,
easy, right? Because first impressions, right? People don't know what to expect.
mm,
And if you have low expectations, I can meet those and I can exceed those far again. And again, you become that person people rely on because wow, you do know what you're doing. You do know. I mean, I literally in some instances, oh, well, can you take notes in this meeting? Not that I mind taking notes in the meeting, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here
yeah.
to contribute just like everyone else at the table.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And how you said it was very even.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to take notes. And I think that's important when we are pushed,
Yes.
pushed and, you know, offended a bit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I be taking notes? I'm here to contribute.
Sure.
And so,
And I think you can't be angry, you can't be confrontational
mm,
unless the confrontation is needed, right? You can't have a chip on your shoulder looking for opportunities to express your dissatisfaction. I think let's say you get more bees with honey.
mm,
People they will gravitate towards you when you can handle the pressure without being difficult, without being costly.
mm,
Again, there are times when you do have to stand up for yourself and it might be more confrontational, but your first approach should not be anger. It should
mm,
be that, hey, yes, they don't know me. Everyone has to prove themselves. Maybe I have to prove it a little bit more because they have lower expectations, but everyone in a new group, you have to prove who you are and why you're there. So don't
mm.
take it so personally.
Wow, that's excellent. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So thank you.
Mhm.
And so that itself is a huge nugget, especially in this volatile
Yeah.
world right now.
Environment that we're in today. Yes.
Another, grounding energy to bring it down
Yes.
and look at things in a very even keeled way. So
Mhm.
yeah, so as we conclude this conversation, what would you like listeners or the audience to remember about this
Mhm.
conversation?
I think the most important thing for everyone to realize is that when your life is centered, it really creates an atmosphere of peace that others want to be in. They want to be around you because it's peaceful, it's
Mhm.
organized, it's not chaotic. That doesn't mean you won't have conflict, but even in those difficult conversations, be respectful, be positive, so that the results will come out and everyone will come away feeling like we had a good discussion with positive results. Conversely, when your life is chaotic, it creates tension that people want to avoid. Be the
Yeah,
person that brings joy and inspiration to the party, and you'll always be a welcome guest.
yeah, lovely. And this reminds me of what Gandhi says, right? Be the
Mm-hmm.
change you want to see.
Be the change you want to see. Absolutely.
In that, when we're peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
surround us, get some of that, and then they could go
Absolutely.
out and spread it. And
Yes.
so, wow. As always, Elaine, always inspirational. I love our conversations and thank you so much
Thank
for,
you, Sue. I appreciate the opportunity to do this interview. I always enjoy our conversations as well. They're always very uplifting and positive, and I appreciate you for even giving me this opportunity to do this recording today.
oh, absolutely. I think this is a great contribution to what is happening now. So thank you, and we'll
Thank
sign
you.
off now.
Okay, thank you.